Hi, I'm Holly, I'm a writer, and I thought I would do a chatty get ready with me type video, um, just to talk about where I'm at with writing and my plans and just generally how I'm doing, because I want to make content but I don't really have a lot of stuff. I'm gonna do a video talking about my library books, but they're not due back for another a week. So I don't really want to do that until I've had a bit more time, because I've only read a few of them so far, so I want to read as many as possible before I make the video. For this, I'm literally going to be getting ready. It is 2-3 o'clock. So I've got not a lunch, but I've got a banana. Did you see that? I can kind of see the back of the phone because there's a mirror in front of me, but I have my blueberry thing, and then I have, this is a Go Ahead bar, and I have these, it comes in 3 slices, and I'm on the last one. I love these so much that I genuinely had a dream where I had one of these in the dream, and it was a dream where I'd killed somebody, and we were fixing up the crime scene so that it would look a very specific kind of way. And then I was eating one of these and I was like, I should be careful not to get any crumbs on the crime scene. Which is okay. But I'm gonna just, it's gonna be a little bit weird because I'm gonna kind of have to face this way. I just can't physically maneuver the phone differently. I tried to put it in front of me, but then I wouldn't be able to see. So, but I'm gonna just do my makeup, I think, and hope for the best. I haven't actually put any primer on. I should probably do that now, and then, but I guess I just wanted to talk because I'm about halfway through, and I say about halfway through. So if you don't know, my current project, got a bit of a color to it. My current project is the way I've described it a lot, and if you've seen me do this before, I'm so sorry, but it's Prison Break's Alex Mahone if he was acting on the Short and Sweet tour by Sabrina Carpenter, specifically Act 2 of that tour. So it's basically the way that I actually figured it out, because the more that you get to know a project, the easier it becomes to talk about it. And so the way that I talk about it now is very different from the beginning, so I do think it's kind of worth for everybody to talk about it a little bit more. But essentially it is about this woman who, when she was younger, she was living out in the woods, because the reasons why it gets talked about in the book, but essentially she was a rich kid who wanted to feel more independent, so she used her parents' money to buy herself a little house in the middle of nowhere, in the same exact state that she was raised in order to feel more independent and to be alone and to work on her craft of being a singer. And so she goes out into the middle of this woods, and there's this guy who goes missing from those woods during the time period that she is there. And that event really shapes her life in a lot of different ways. And it's purposely very vague in the story how aware of him she was at the time, and whether they had any interactions, stuff like that. But essentially the idea is that when he went missing, it kind of put a lot of things into perspective for her about because she was she was 19 years old, 20 years old, and she's in this really remote town where this guy who's her age goes missing, and she's a young woman who lives a a lot of stuff. And it's basically her craft changes because she at that point has lived a fairly sheltered life, and I think that sometimes you do need to go through a few things that are a little bit more tough in order to understand your place in the world and how to write songs that actually have an impact almost. I think a really good example of that would be Sabrina Carpenter herself, Emails I Can't Send is like a perfect album. Hi, sweetie. My cat's waiting for me. Hi. Yeah. Come here, babe. It's okay. Yeah. They're really weird about this room, and I don't know why, but hi. Come on. Yeah. She's literally just lingering. Is she gonna go on the bed? Yeah, this is the guest room, by the way. It's a little dark. I'm aware that it's a little dark, but I don't really have any way of lighting it up without turning the big light on, and it's actually not as bright as you would think. Okay, bye babe. And I did try and put a lamp on, but the cord was really short, so. But yeah, so Sabrina Carpenter's Emails I Can't Send it's my favourite of her albums. It's really good. It's perfect. It got really good reviews at the time, I'm pretty sure. I don't really pay attention to the I know that sounds really bad, but I just don't. But it's a really good album, and it came about because she got a lot of scrutiny and a lot of bad stuff going on all at once, and I think she grew a lot as an artist from that, which is one of the reasons why she considers that album to be like her first, even though it was her 5th. Is that numbers? I can't. So basically that's the situation, is that she watches this really strange, awful event happen, and it changes her. And so she goes 8 years, and she's on the first stadium tour. I'm gonna just eat this really quickly. Okay, just put on like a lip thing to like prep. But basically, so she goes to this place, and then she leaves it because it's just a bit of a weird place. Like, she doesn't really like thinking about it, and she grows up, basically. Like, she changes who she is, and I'm kind of going through that right now, where like not in like a really like bad like, oh, I'm changing way, but like in the sense that I am growing up. Like, I finally am starting to feel like a grown-up. Also, you can't judge me for my makeup technique, okay? We're not doing that. But like, I just, you know, I understand like right now, especially like the idea that you really do at some point in your life just change who you are, and it's not like a fake thing necessarily. In her case, it's partially fake because she really cares about like the way that people see her as a singer, and so she wants her like image as a singer to be a very specific way. But like, specifically in terms of just who she is, she grows up. Crazy, right? And so she grows up and she just starts to feel more grown up, and especially because of this experience, you know, it comes fairly naturally. Like, she just wants to wear different clothes. She stops not necessarily hiding her wealth, but I think that is a huge part of the story, which isn't really a spoiler because it's not really like a big part of the plot. It's more like a character thing, but I might need more of that actually. But it's like she kind of when she's like the one who gives herself the money, like rather than it being from her parents, she, you know, feels a lot better about flaunting it because she's earned it. Like, it's less of like a nepo thing if she has worked for it herself, and like if she's the one paying for the super expensive tour and stuff like that, because she feels a lot of shame about that, partially because of her parents and like the way that they treat her, but also because of just generally like, you know, she feels like the disappointment of being the child who didn't become what they necessarily wanted her. There's a very complicated relationship. Like, that's like one thing that I've been working on in this draft, is her relationship with her mother specifically, because her mother, like, I don't want her mother to seem like she just hates her daughter. Like, I don't want it to seem like she's that like typical book parent who doesn't care about their child. I want it to seem a little bit more like there's reasons, there's layers to their relationship. My face looks really orange. I don't know if you can tell, but like when I'm looking at myself, it's because this concealer, I got a shade too dark, which is why I put it on underneath, because it's fine, it conceals, but like that's the problem with being pale, by the way. Everything's a little bit too dark, and also depending on the lighting, everything is like especially dark. But essentially, she has this very complicated feeling about like the past for a number of reasons. The guy, also herself, you know, there's different layers to it. Again, layers. Human beings, we have layers. But I think that like with her specifically, like a big part of it that I wanted to have was it be that like you look at her relationship with her parents, you look at her relationship with this man that went missing, and you see them all kind of coming together in this mash of like, is she a good person, is she not? Like that's the vibe, right? Is that it's a story about primarily this woman, and you come to terms whether or not you think that she deserves like happiness, whether or not you think she deserves to be punished or anything like that, like based off of your experiences of her as a character. And so the like sense that I wanted to give was very much that, like it was like this very open-ended look at the way that this woman's whole life, including focusing on this specific time period where this guy went missing, how did that impact her life? And so this guy, she's on this stadium tour 8 years later after he went missing, and I'm not gonna do my ears, by the way, because I just got a new piercing on my ears, so I don't want to risk anything going into the, you know, unhealed hole of my earring. That's why I'm not doing that. Usually I would do a little bit of a blend, but we're not doing that. But there is a reason for it, so you know, no criticism, thank you. I'm not going out like this or anything. It's just we'll blend a little bit like on the conch. Yeah. But like essentially this guy goes missing, and then 8 years later his case gets renewed, and there's a reason why it gets renewed. It's not like just like, you know, I obviously had to have a reason why it like logically would happen at that time period, and it's because his younger sister grows up and she's like kind of more on it than her mother is, because she's younger, she's more technological, like a lot of like little reasons like that that make, I think, a lot of sense. Like you see it all the time with real life cases. This is like the most embarrassing part to film myself doing. I'm so sorry. Oh, I learned from like 2016 YouTube, by the way, mixed with like my own personal experimentations and like the fact that I'm kind of an idiot, so I have to do things a very specific kind of stupid way, but like it works out in the end. It's fine, it works out. It just looks really dumb, and like especially if you've moved past the beauty blender, like I'm sorry but I haven't. I just can't. I have dry skin. I need a beauty blender to make my skin look good. I know that that's like a case of the master and his tools, but I actually don't care. I'm gonna take my headphones out. I put them in, but I don't think that it makes a difference. Like I don't think that it picks them up. I thought it might, but it was also partly like reflex, because I always listen to music while I do my makeup, and I'm not doing that today. But anyway, so this guy's case gets brought back up for valid reasons. I feel like I need a little bit more because I'm tired. I've not been sleeping, which is part of like the problem. I'm gonna get to that. But basically this guy goes missing. His family bring up his case a little bit more to try and like, you know, bring him home. And it happens at the same time as this stadium tour, so her life is like picking up and she's finally achieving all of these things that she's like always wanted, and this like worst time in her life gets thrown back in her face essentially. And she's kind of selfish, she's kind of an icon as well, and there's a lot of stuff that's really understandable about it. And again, that's kind of the point, is that, you know, you can make a decision on whether or not you think she's like a terrible person, or whether or not she deserves to suffer, or whether or not she doesn't, blah blah blah. It's very like, one of the comps that I gave was like The Secret History, in the sense that in The Secret History there's no punishment from like the law, for example, for what they do. It all just comes from like themselves, and like this entire friend group falls apart after the events of the story take place. How much more do I need? Like a little bit on my nose? I don't think I do. It always comes off of my nose first. It's just like, but it's fine. But yeah, so it's like this sense of there being like a lot of internal pressure rather than external pressure. But it's interesting to me. Obviously, I wrote a book about it, and I just think that it's kind of fun. I don't know. I like it. I'm happy with it. I think that it's cool. That's not the shade I want. But I also, you know, it's a lot of, and this is like the thing, right? I'm getting into it. Apparently I've not taken the mirror thing off this one. Dear God, why are you not coming off? Here we go. Ta-da! They just really, it's sticking to me. The static is crazy. They just released these, like the butter balms in like bronzers, and I've never been more tempted to buy some makeup, because I don't have like a bronzer right now, because I'm so pale, but these ones are really nice, so I might. But yeah, so this story, like, okay, I really like it, and I think that it is like, you know, it's got a lot of promise, and that's like important, right? You know, like if you have a story and you like it, it really goes a long way, that like interest in your own work, which sounds really dumb, but as a writer, like if you've ever tried to get something published, and I'm attempting to sort of, you know, go the traditional route with this, it really takes so long, and you have to edit your own work about 1,000,000 times, and you have to do that with any book that you attempt to publish. But with traditional publishing, you're gonna not get like, because you're gonna get a lot of good feedback from people, and you're gonna get a lot of people who are very passionate about your work and who are very loving with it, but you're also gonna get like agent rejections, or just being ignored by agents, which is a rejection, but it's a no response. And the thing with no response rejections is that, you know, you don't know what is like wrong. You don't know whether it's just personal preference. You don't know if like they think that something is like wrong with the manuscript. Sometimes they're really nice and they will say, but like a lot of the time they just won't do that. How does my makeup look? I feel like the blush is like okay, but I might do a little bit more, because it does go away over the day. Like it does kind of disappear. It's crazy that blush does that. I said quasi instead of crazy by mistake. I didn't do that on purpose, I swear to God. I swear. Like I promise I didn't do that on purpose. But like, you have this sort of inability to actually know whether your work is like good for like the standard of publishing, and then like even like some really great books just do not get published. So you can come in, but I'm not coming out. I genuinely just feel like you kind of go insane no matter who you are. When you're like traditionally publishing something, you're gonna go insane. You're gonna feel like so much doubt over this project that it's crazy, and you're gonna feel like maybe you've made a mistake. And you know what, fair enough. Because that's like the way that you're supposed to feel, is you're supposed to feel challenged, and then if you keep with it, it means that the book is the right book to be doing this with. And so I love this book, and I do want to keep doing it. I love the smell of this. Too Faced, they don't make this anymore. They don't make the foundation in my shade anymore. but I love Too Faced stuff. Is it expensive? Yes, but it was really popular for a reason. And I just feel like there's this sort of sense of this book for me where I really like it, but it's really tough. And I think it's really tough because I'd never written, like, I mentioned this before, like I was a bit afraid that I wasn't going to be good enough to do a lit fic book, because literary fiction is a little bit more serious, which doesn't mean it has to be like the best writing ever. You know, technically it's more about like the focus of the story, but it is like the kind that wins awards more often, you know? Like you're not realistically gonna win an award outside of like a specific genre award unless you're writing lit fic. And the thing about that is that when you haven't been published before, and when you feel a little bit insecure about yourself as a writer and you're just starting to like really take it seriously now, it can be tough. Like it can be really tough. And I think that like for me, it was tough specifically in the sense that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able, without like a plot necessarily, because it is a plot, but like without like a solid plot, I was like, am I going to be able to do this? And the answer was I didn't know. And when you don't know, it can be really intimidating. It can feel really rough. So I just kind of like, I did it and I learned a lot about it and I was really proud of myself, but it's still really difficult to know in like the querying sense if I'm good enough, right? Like it's still difficult to sort of tell that, you know, this isn't just like, it wasn't a fluke. Like that it's good enough to publish, not just that it's like decent for a first pass like thingy. And so, you know, you've got this like whole thing going on where you need to be confident in it as much as possible, and you need to like it because you're gonna have to edit it a lot. You're gonna have a lot of doubts, and if you don't champion for yourself, oh my eyes just went blurry, then you're not gonna get an agent, because if you can't champion for yourself, why would an agent champion for you? And so I've been getting better at like doing that and like caring about myself in that regard. But like it's really tough, and it's really tough specifically because like, you know, you think a lot about yourself. And the reason why I'm saying all this, okay, is because I have been struggling, and I've not been struggling because of the book. And I want that to be clear, because I haven't made a video in the last like 2 weeks, and the reason for that is because I've just been in such a rubbish place, like mentally. I might need a little bit more blush. I should have realistically done that first, but I always forget until it's like too late. But that is just kind of like the situation that I'm in, right? Is that like the book, I enjoy it. I'm really pretty like happy with it, and it's difficult, but it's difficult in the sense that like I look at it and I'm like, oh my god, like this is good. Like the feedback that I've gotten so far has been really lovely, which again, that sounds like a bit of nothing, but it has been nice in a constructive way. There's a character who I wanted to add like more, because I got a few comments about him in the book and his relationship. That is one of my hairs, not one of the brush's hairs. But like he was a bit underutilized, and I realized that like without even thinking, I had given him the same family, like not the same exact family obviously, but like the same like type of family relationships as the guy that goes missing. That like purely coincidental, I just did it like by mistake. And then I was like, wait, I could like, that could be like a thing. Which sounds like so dumb, because like, what do you mean you didn't know until like now? But there are like little things like that where I've realized that rather than that having be like a little thing to the side, it can be a little bit more in the focus, and it can be used to show the character development, because it's kind of like, you know, if you have like a character who is like the same as somebody else, use that, like turn it into like a whole thing, you know. And you can have it like, I don't know an example, but like let's say that in your story you had a romance and there was a woman who was going on a bunch of dates with like a bunch of men. Or I guess it's Pride Month. We'll say that she was going on dates with a bunch of women. Maybe she is bi. That could be it. That makes sense actually, more than whatever I was gonna say. Let's say that she's bi, she goes on dates with a bunch of men, and she could have like a moment where she realizes that she's essentially like she's kind of going after men that remind her of her ex, and then she ends up with a woman who is different, and she realizes through this woman that like the problem is that she's going after like the same kind of man, and that she's not allowing herself to grow in like romantically. And it doesn't even have to be because like, you know, women are better. It just has to be in the sense that like she changes and she grows as a person, and she stops looking for like the same, and when she knows that it's unhealthy, she refuses to engage with it until she can be healthy about it. And like I think that that kind of thing where you have like a specific character who represents something like similar to what the other people that were like bad do, it allows you this opportunity to very specifically you know, highlight the negative or the good, or whether in your character, in that other character. Like you get to sort of play around with the way in which characters are viewed and how intentionally you portray them. I don't know if I'm making sense, but essentially I realized that he could be kind of like a foil to this other guy, you know, like an in another universe kind of situation. But like he is right there in person while she is going through this situation, and it's like, does she choose to move forward with this new guy, or does she choose to go backwards by focusing and obsessing on the guy that's missing? And so it's kind of fun, you know. That's a better way of phrasing it than the example that I gave, but whatever. It's fine, because essentially that's what I'm doing, is I'm at a point where I'm just like finding really fun, interesting ways to play around with like my characters and the way that they, you know, pop up in the story. And like there's a character that I completely forgot about in the first draft, so I've replaced a different character with him because he is very different, and because there's a lot of people, and okay, that's fine. Yeah, I wanted that there, but he basically, like, it's intentional. The diversity in this book is significantly lower than the diversity in my other books, and the reason why is because it's all focused on this woman, and this woman is kind of focused on herself, and so you don't even know like the sexualities of the people around her because she doesn't care to know that. She doesn't care to think about that. Like literally any of them could be anything and you wouldn't know. And it's kind of like, that's the point, right? Is that like she does not think about other people. And again, that's not like it necessarily, I don't think it's like a bad thing, but it's like she doesn't think about other people, and she doesn't really like, she does like diversity because she's like a celebrity, so she has to be diverse. That's like a requirement, right? Like she has to at least be a little bit diverse in the people that she works with. But most of them, like, this is a rich white industry, and so she's in this rich white industry and she doesn't really think about that sort of stuff. And so the story, like, it doesn't really focus on anybody besides her, this white guy who goes missing, which him being white was intentional because I didn't want, this sounds really bad, because, well, it could sound really bad, I guess, but I didn't want the focus of the story, like, I didn't want him going missing to be a commentary on, like, I didn't want it to be he goes missing and it's his race or anything like that, especially because of the specifics of the situation. It doesn't make sense if I talk about it, but essentially, like, I didn't want it to be one of those things where there's extra stuff added into the already complex sort of situation based off of race, especially because some people are really foul right now. Don't know if you've noticed, but some people are really, like, they will take any excuse to be, like, racist, and I'm just not, that's not what this book is about, and I don't want people who would make negative comments to make negative comments. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what I want to do color-wise with my eyes today. I'm wearing green. Could do purple. Purple might be fun. But no, I specifically was thinking about it. I was like, okay, if a woman went missing, if a person of colour went missing, if a queer person went missing in general, it would have more of an impact in the way of, I think a lot of people, like, obviously you're gonna assume maybe that it was something to do with those qualities, because those people do get hate crimed more than, like, a straight white male. And so I didn't want that sort of conversation to overshadow the actual conversation. Not in the sense that I want to, like, control the reader in, like, the sense that you have to think everything that I think about the story, but in the sense that I want to make the narrative primarily about, like, the woman. Like, it's about her, and it's more about her than it's about the guy. The guy, he does come up. Sorry, the stool is just, like, really small and I'm trying to, like, maneuver around. But, like, I wanted it to very much be obvious, I guess, that, like, the issue is just, like, it's a very specific, like, to the situation one. Like, it's not a social commentary on, like, a broader picture necessarily. Like, there is social commentary, obviously, but it's not about, like, a race thing. It's not about, like, a sexuality thing. It's not, like, a hate crime situation, okay? It's not a hate crime that's occurred. That's the specific thing. Because I just didn't want people, especially because, like, if you assume that that's maybe what's happening and then that's not it, you might be disappointed, or you might not read it because you might not want to read a story that has violence against specifically somebody that you think it might be targeted based off of somebody who's like you. You know, that's really rough to read for a lot of people, obviously, especially right now. So I wanted it to be more of, like, an overarching idea. It's more like men and women rather than it is about anything else. And even then, there's, like, mentions of religion, a lot of them throughout the book, which is very purposeful. I think I mentioned that, like, the idea of people who use religion as, like, a way of being like, well, I'm religious now, so all of my wrongdoings are forgiven. I kind of go into, like, that idea, not, like, outright saying it, but I do go into it a little bit. So it's, like, more, like, stuff like that I focus on in this specific book. Because I very specifically wanted to avoid making that a part of the conversation, because I think that if I did that, it would just be too big. Like, there'd be too much going on and I wouldn't be able to, like, control it, in a sense that I wouldn't be able to get the story that I had in my head out right without being like, okay, well, I have to accommodate for this and this. So it was just easier to make him a white man. That is the reason. Her sexuality, really, apart from that, it was dictated by that more than it was dictated by anything else. I guess also she is a very popular pop star, and unfortunately you do have to basically be straight and white to get very, very successful in the music industry. We kind of know that already. So there's a commentary in the sense that, like, I portray the fact that the music industry is very white and straight, and I'm aware that that is the case in the book. That is intentional, it just, I don't want it, I want it to be intentional in the way that like you kind of don't think about it unless you're like thinking, hey, it's kind of weird that there's no, you know, like I didn't want it to be, I don't really know what I'm doing. I think I'm just gonna dust a little bit of white to like make the base a little bit more neutral. I don't even think this is white. It's hard to tell for sure. But yeah, that was my like thought. That's like what I was trying to say, is that I want the focus to be more on like the internal stuff that she goes through. I want it to be on like morality rather than like, and the thing with morality is, again, I don't want people reading it who are racist. And because that, I mean, it's inevitable. Obviously, if somebody sees my book and they are interested by it, it doesn't matter what their views are. They're not going to know outright that I have like this view or that view. They're not going to know that my book shouldn't be a safe space for them. And I don't want them to read it and to, if it was like a man of color specifically, I did not want them to be like, well, of course. Because the idea of somebody doing that, like I see so many comments and it makes me so mad when they're like, oh, and what race were they, or like what country were they from? And it's like, I actually want to kill you. I don't want to kill people. I just do wish that there was like a second planet that they could go on and be racist away from us, because it's getting really bad in the UK, like really bad, like genuinely. People just don't care anymore about like hiding it, and it's because they've always been bad. Like I'm aware that I as a white woman have never experienced it as bad as it has always been, but like dear God, it's really bad. Like it's in the politics now, like so openly, and it was always a bit in the politics, but like we had to disband UKIP and now they've managed to come back in like worse form. And that's crazy. They literally want to get rid of the Equality Act. That's crazy. Like, imagine saying that like 10 years ago. People would be like, what are you talking about? But essentially that's what I wanted to avoid, because I didn't, like, I was very conscious of that. And I never want to choose, for the sake of like diversity, to portray a person of color negatively when it literally isn't anything to do. Like, I just don't want to do that, because the climate that we're in is very specific. But funnily enough, the guy who is like the opposite but also the same of this guy, he is black. I did a fan cast and it was Damson Idris. Is it Damson Idris or Damson Idris? I never know how to pronounce names like that, especially if it's like a surname. If it was a first name, I would assume it was Idris. But for a surname, I would assume that it's Idris. But anyway, he's so fit. Perfect choice for this guy, like I swear to God. I could see it so easily. But like, he is kind of like the opposite in a lot of ways. He's also like, again, it's like the past and the present are happening at the same time, but then also you have this option with him of the future, and so that like is very important to me. And I realized that like I wasn't utilizing that enough in the first draft, so in my second draft I've been taking care of that. Oh, I didn't really say, so I'm on chapter 7 of 14. I think it's 15. I originally was going to do 15, right? You may remember this. But then I ended up removing a chapter from my, oh, and I'm going to apologize now for the way that I do my eye makeup. It's a mess, but it should end up all right. But like, I literally, I need to close the mirror. I cut out a chapter because I was like, you know what? I think that it would be better if this was just one chapter. Oops. Oopsie. That'll be fine. But I was like, I think this would be better if it was just one chapter. Like, I think it'd be more powerful. And I was like, yeah, okay. So, we're down to 14 chapters. And that's fine, because 15 chapters, it was more of like, I want 15 rather than 14. But then it was 7 in each half of the book. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But then I added a chapter in because the first, like, few chapters especially, I've been adding like a lot of words, like a few thousand. And so I was like, okay, what I really need to do is this is like one chapter, and then what's coming next is like a different chapter. So there's no point in it being one chapter just because it was originally one chapter, because when you add a lot, obviously things change. So I decided to do that and have it be an extra chapter, which means that I'm now back up to 15. The thing is, that means that I'm not fully halfway through. And the problem with that is that, like, I'm at like 40,000 words. And that's not terrible, but like I am gonna have to go through and give a little bit of a little edit, you know? Sorry, just give me 1 second to like, problem is my eyes aren't even, so this is gonna be like hell to do while I'm talking. But essentially, I wanted for this book to be in 2 parts, and I wanted it to be about 78,000 words, I think was my goal, right? Because that's like a good amount. It's gonna be more than that. I know that it's gonna be more than that because I'm not an idiot, and I can see that the word count is going up and up and up. And I'm hoping that like the second half isn't gonna need as much editing, and that I won't add as many words as I have in this first half, because the first half needed quite a lot of revamping. It needed a lot more, as I said, like I've changed the character dynamics a little bit. I still actually have to add in a character who I forgot about. The guy that I replaced and then added another guy in, I mentioned that and I kind of forgot that thread. I forgot him. I forgot him again. Even though he was like a replacement to somebody this time. So I've had to add him in, and I think it's not too bad because I'm less than full halfway through. So, well, no, I'm not. I'm a little bit over halfway through. But yeah, I need to remember that because I am. So it's fine. In theory, we shouldn't exceed 80,000 words. And if we do, I'm gonna go in and search for adverbs and just see how many that takes out, and like useless things like that, because it should be fine. It should be fine. It should be normal. I can't tell if that looks terrible or not, but I honestly, I just don't think I care. But that like situation, it's under control, but I need to go back. I have added like a little bit of something from an earlier chapter because I was like, I need to add this guy in because he's like just not in the story and he needs to be in the story. So I've gone back and added him in, and it's, you know, it's fine. It's whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, he did get forgotten. What am I talking about? Like, was there a reason why I came onto this direction? Oh, so it's progressing and I'm happy with the way that it's progressing, and I've got a little itch, so I'm just gonna really like, okay, it's fine. But yeah, it's progressing. There was stuff that I forgot, which I'm adding in. There's stuff that I wanted to develop more, as you do with the first draft. You know, you get a little bit of feedback maybe. In my case, I did need some feedback because I was like, okay, is this like, because it did feel kind of better than I thought, to be honest. But I also wanted to get like a little bit of extra feedback to make sure that I wasn't just making that up, because it was a new genre. It was like a new, well, not a genre, a new style. And so I did just want to give like a little bit of, you know, a little bit more thought to that. But it was fine, and it's going fine, and I feel good about it. Like when I write, I feel like the writing's not terrible. If you looked at my journal, it would disagree with me on that, because I get really like, I'm such a negative Nancy. Like I write something and then I'm like, you know what, I don't really love that. I think that that kind of is terrible. And then I read it back and I'm like, that's literally not that bad. Like, why are we being this dramatic about it? Like, girl, give yourself a bit of grace, you know? But I don't give myself that much grace, and that's kind of the problem. And I'm overthinking a lot of things, as you can probably tell from the everything about everything that I've said. But like, I'm giving it a good old go. I really am, giving it a go. And the main problem that I'm having at the moment is with my, as I mentioned, like generally the fact that I'm struggling, like not the fact that I'm struggling with this specific like project, with this book or anything like that, but the fact that like my general, like I've been a bit depressed, been a little depressed, and so I've been sleeping too much but also not enough. It's been a mess. Like the sleep situation has been bad, to say the least. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab, there's like this really bright purple color. I'm kind of curious. Are you gonna pick up? Are you gonna be any good? I don't know. You're not bad actually. You're a little weak for me. But we can add you in a little bit. Should have wet the brush. Should have done that, but I didn't. So here we are. But yeah, I just like to sort of, you know, write really negative things in my journal because I feel really bad about it when I do it. But then if I read it back, I'm like, it's not that bad. It's fine. Which is like, you know, whatever. I'm a human being. I'm allowed to be a little like unsure sometimes about the things that I'm doing and to be a little negative about it. And, you know, ultimately the thing is that when I'm happy with it, I am happy with it. And I feel good about it and I feel like it deserves to be published. Hey, Hanson. How are you? Hey. Yeah. You're not gonna see him because he's too low down, so unless he goes up on... Oh, you happy to see me? You happy to see me? His tail's shaking, which is a good thing. I need like a sparkle, which I think maybe the OG. I might use you. But you might be a little dark. I might, do you know what I could do actually though? I could put like a teeny bit of you in there to just really deepen that up a little bit because I like a quite deep eye. I do, yeah. Sorry, I'm talking to him more than to you at this point, but like I love the writing process right now when I do it. When I write, I feel really good about what I write. I feel like I'm on the right track. I feel like I know where I'm going. And yeah. And I feel like good about this project specifically. Like I really do. But it's a process getting there, you know? Like I'm spending a lot of time doubting myself, and especially because I'm depressed, like I'm just really sensitive to everything, and I'm thinking like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna get this draft finished, it's gonna take ages. No, I just needed to check. But like I think that that's my like big thing, is that I wanted to get querying by like summertime, some point, and I still think that that's possible, but I've just slowed down a lot, and like this draft isn't going as quickly as the last second draft that I did went. But also I'm doing a lot of work on this draft, like I'm really improving a lot, and you know, it is a big developmental edit, and like I think that I need to just give myself a little bit more grace with that, and to, you know, acknowledge that like in the past I've not been as good of a writer as I am now, and like ultimately no matter how quick that draft went through, you know, no matter how easy it seemed at the time, like it just wasn't as good as what I'm writing right now. Even though this feels terrible, even though that felt really good at the time. Like the difference is truly in my skill, and like I'm noticing the things that I need to change now, as I'm doing them, basically, and I'm noticing like, okay, well, I haven't set up this character as much as I should, so I need to go back. And like, I wouldn't have been as good at doing that, like even just a draft ago. Like I was still like learning a lot about myself and my writing process, and I think that it's important that I notice that and give myself the credit where credit is due, that like I'm like really not doing that bad. And the thing is, obviously I'm putting everything away, but nothing is ready to be put away. I don't know why I did that, but like for me specifically, I think the big thing right now that I wanted to talk about is the fact that I have been depressed, and that's been stopping me from doing quite a few things. It's been stopping me from doing literally everything in my life. So I've not been really reading. I haven't really got anything to talk about reading wise for the channel. I've not really got that much writing stuff to talk about for the channel because, again, my writing's not been that great. He's just cleaning himself. I was like, what the hell is happening? And like, hi. Hey. Do you want me to put you on camera? Do you want me to show you off? Do you want me to show you off, baby? Oh, please don't jump up. Come here. Oh, he's gonna scratch my legs, but oh. Here he is. Hey, babe. Yeah, I'm sorry. Good boy. Okay. But yeah, I'm at a weird place, basically. And I'm at a weird place because mentally I'm like really good, but I'm also mentally really bad. And so like I'm having a lot of like the physical depression symptoms. Like I feel a lot more ill lately than I have in a long while. I have felt like really quite badly the sleep effects. Like I've not been able to sleep even when I've been exhausted, and I've been trying for like hours, and I've been sleeping really fitfully. I have always throughout my entire life slept like a log, okay? I don't wake up, but guess who's been waking up? And it's really bad. And it's just so depressing, and like it's made me have no energy for writing. And the thing is, if I sat down and started writing, I would keep writing. But when I'm like thinking about it as like something that I need to do, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. This is the worst part. I'm really bad at eyebrows, so you're gonna have to just forgive me because I don't know what I'm doing. So I just kind of like hope and pray that it doesn't look terrible. But like I like to just do this to my eyebrows to get a sense of the shape. I'm gonna be so honest with you right now. I can't really see. Like I need to put my glasses on because it's really dark in here. Like I'm literally like I can't, like my prescription's not even that bad, but like I'm struggling. But like literally that looks terrible, but we'll fix it, don't worry. We can fix everything. That is like really messing with my eyes. I'm like not that, I'm going a little bit insane doing that. Ugh. But like that is my thing, right? Is that I have just been feeling so rough and I just don't do stuff. I just don't do it. I need to do it, but I just don't because I feel rough and I think, well, maybe I'll feel better tomorrow. But if I did it, I would feel great and I would keep doing it. It's just about starting it, and like unfortunately that is the hardest part for me, is the starting it right now. It just kind of looks like a mole. I have so many moles that it just looks normal. Jesus. But like that is the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. We're gonna fix it, don't worry. Don't worry. But literally like that is so uneven that it should be a crime. But unfortunately that is where my eyebrows are. Like that's literally just my eyebrow, that bit. But yeah, Again, literally just my eyebrow, but it looks so, like, can my eyebrows be better? Please. Just be like a little better and I'd be so much happier with you, you know what I mean? Like, we could be so happy in this body together, but you just don't really like me very much, do you? It's so sad. But I do really feel not great at the minute, and I'm aware of it, and that almost makes it a bit worse because I know what I have to do, but it's really difficult to do it. And so, like, getting up even when you feel terrible because it's really early for your body, gotta do it anyway. But it's really difficult to make yourself, and so I just, do you know what, I don't want to curl my lashes today. I just don't feel up for that. This is the problem, like, I just don't, and so I don't try things and I don't do them. Let me just put all of this away. It was really loud, but like, I just don't do things. So I've not been writing and I've not been reading as much. I have managed to do some reading, which is like a blessing, but the writing is just not happening and it's making me feel really bad. And like, the more that I don't do it, the worse I feel. But like, what am I supposed to do, you know? Short of like force myself, which is just really difficult to do. And so that's where I'm at with it. But the project is coming along and I'm really happy with it. I just, like, there's nothing that I could like show you. Like, there's no definable there's no like definable success in the sense that, like, I've not finished the draft. I've not actually hit the halfway point, because the halfway point in my mind would be part 2. And I don't know how fast I'm gonna be when I get to part 2. Like, I don't know how quick I'm gonna be able to finish this. And so I'm at a really weird, annoying place where I'm gonna go write, like, today. I should do this for my eyes, because otherwise I have like the worst eyes. They are so sensitive, and if you accidentally blink and your eyelashes are like touching your, like, it's really bad. So we just gotta, like, my left eye is the one that's watering. Isn't that kind of stupid? Because you would think it would be the one that's literally being touched, but no. But yeah, I just feel like at the minute I need to just kind of get a grip, but it's really difficult to get a grip. Which is why I always say, like, with like mental health and like writing advice, like, you have to just make yourself do it. But also I understand that it's more difficult than that. Like, if it's writer's block, I think you just have to make yourself do it. But when it's writer's block that's partially caused by, for example, the fact that you don't have the desire to do anything that you need to do to stay alive, I feel like it is a little bit more difficult. Like, yes, thank you very much. I have been struggling to go down and have food every evening because I have to cook it myself because I'm an adult and that's how it works. And I have been having a few more like takeaways to just avoid the fact that I don't want to cook. And that's not good. Like, I am aware that I need to do stuff to live. See, it doesn't look terrible. It's not the best, but like, I tried to have more colour in my life. And the colour just isn't very pigmented, as it turns out. But like, that's like where I'm at, is the sense that like, I need to do more, but it's not like a writing issue, it's like a life issue. And it's unfortunately a lot more difficult, because if it was a writing issue, I would just tell myself, you know what, babe, just sit down and write. But as it is, I don't have the energy to do basically anything. I literally went on a game last night rather than write, because I was like, well, you know what I would rather do than do something that's actually like productive and good for my brain? I would rather go onto this game and I would literally sail for like 20 straight minutes in real life time to get to the spawn points that I already have in a different world, so that I can collect the materials to upgrade my equipment without having to do that on the world where I just want to have fun with my friend. Are we being so serious? Like, I spent literally like an hour building like the workstation to upgrade my clothes in this game. Like, that is where I'm at. And I was like, well, I don't want to upgrade, like, I don't want to do like the other kind of upgrades because that's just a bit more effort. But then I spent an hour on this game just trying to like get all of the fast travel points unlocked, essentially. That felt like it was on my eye rather than on my eyelash, but it wasn't. How fun. That's my cat, if you can hear that. But literally that's where I'm at, and I just wanted to do a little update because depression isn't a joke. And I was doing fine, but then the weather got really good and then the weather got really bad, and so my brain was like, oh sun, oh my god, the sun's gone, and it's like actually tragic. But that's where we're at. I need to do lips. Hi babe. Hi. Is it dinner time? I don't think it is. Actually, I don't think it's that late. I don't think it's 5 p.m. Which is, to be honest, mate, your dinner time is probably gonna have to go back another hour because I'm not gonna be here by 5 p.m. a lot of days, I don't think. I think that's a little bit unrealistic, baby. Yeah. Or are you just here for me? It's hard to tell sometimes whether he wants attention or if he just wants me because he is such a sweetie, but he's also a fatty. And I would only ever call an animal a fatty, by the way, because he's a chunky boy. You should see his sister and him next to each other. It is absolutely crazy. This is not discontinued, this lipstick. It is very drying, but it's kind of my ride or die. Like, I love this so much. It just, like, it lasts a really good time. And it's like such a natural colour. I think it's literally called like birthday suit. Yeah. Which is so valid because like it is literally just like a naked lip. There you are. But we're just gonna, I can't really talk during this specific part of the process because I would, and I have not got any light, and the problem is that my lips are like a soft lip, so if I do it like all the way it looks really stupid, which feels like a dumb thing to say, but like trust me, if I did it it would be awful to like fix it, so I'm not gonna be showing you. I'm just gonna do a little like that, and then oh, that's you, babe. You're pushing the door open. Yeah. And then I think we're gonna go with this one, which is, this is discontinued. And I love this one, so I'm looking into right now like alternatives for it. But the cheapest is like 7 quid, and the more expensive one is one that looks like exact. And I'm like, that looks so good. And it's like Elise Headway or something like that, and it's like 25 quid, which is, it's a lot of money, but it's not more money than this costs. So I'm considering it, but okay, but yeah, I'm in a weird place to summarize, and I think that it's great that I'm aware of it because it means in theory I can fix it, but also that's like where I'm at with the book, is that I love it and I want it published and I am working on it still, but it's taking me a lot longer than I thought. I don't really know how to talk about it because again, there's not a lot like I can say that's like new information that wouldn't be like a spoiler for the book. Ugh, god, I should probably pin that up because that's been back like that long enough now that it's kind of terrible, actually. ugh. But I just am in a weird place, and I thought I would just do a video talking about it because I don't know, maybe people would enjoy it, maybe people would feel a little bit comforted by the fact that like it, you know, I am pretty consistent. When I write every day, and I write like 1,000 odd words a day, but I don't always do that because some days I'm just not in the mood. Some days like my brain is just breaking a little bit and it doesn't want me to write and stuff like that. And so like, you know, I love transparency, and I love the idea of being transparent when it comes to myself. This is the look. It looks like a lot better in the mirror than it does in the camera, because let me, oh, how do I get you off my face? There. I can't see me in the camera, so maybe it just is like the camera is picking up the light really badly, which makes sense. But yeah, all right. I'm gonna go. Cats. But I feel like I am aware of the fact that I'm depressed. Like, it takes me a while sometimes to realize that like the reason why I'm not wanting to write isn't because I'm suddenly not the disciplined person that I am, but it's because I've become depressed. Like, you would think that would be my first thought by now, but it's not. So I'm gonna try and be like, have grace with myself, but also be a little bit more proactive in doing the stuff that's gonna stop me from being depressed, because that's necessary. And I do need to start like really forcing it now, which means I need to read and write and do all that sort of stuff that I would usually do every day, because that's like the only way that I'm gonna get better, is if I actually make myself do the stuff that my depression doesn't like me doing. So, but yeah, I just thought I would update. So essentially, to sort of recap, because I know I went a bit all over the place, there were a few things that I wanted to develop in this draft, which I have thought of, and I already have a few little things that I just want to go back and sprinkle some stuff in to make it more natural. The relationships are really progressing with this draft. The representation is purposefully very lacking in this book, but that is the only like social commentary on like that specific kind of topic, whereas the other ones take a bit more of the focus, like the idea of fame and morality and stuff like that, which is purposeful because we are unfortunately living in a day and age where people would take any excuse to be racist, and I didn't want to give them an in for that. I just didn't. So yeah, I always like, unless it's like central to the character and like I'm set on who they are, I hate like the thought that somebody's gonna grab hold of my book and be like that genuinely kind of gets me, because I know that there would be some people who would. I mean, those people tend not to read. They're not as good at reading, but whatever. I just think, you know, I'm in a really weird place and I'm overthinking everything to do with this book, because I want it to be good, but I want it to be good in the way that I intend, because I don't want people to get lost in the social commentary rather than like in the, because there's stuff to be said, but like I'm trying to make it more subtle in this round, and I feel like essentially that's what I'm getting at, is that I'm trying to protect my characters from judgments that people are preconceived to believe. Like, I want them, like I specifically chose a white man and a white woman as the main characters because they are the most like neutral in terms of like people who will feel about that. Do you know what I mean? Like that they're neutral. People aren't more likely to have negative feelings about them either way. And I just think that they therefore serve this sort of like play that I've put them in. a little bit better, because it allows you to focus on the writing of the play rather than on the actors themselves and what they bring to the role, which isn't unimportant. Their character, like the characterization of them, is quite important, but I just thought, because I did actually want to have a comment, but it doesn't fit with the character, because as well, part of it was supposed to be like the irony of him being white and yet getting this much attention in the public space because he's missing, where literally like so many indigenous, for example, people go missing on like a daily basis in America, and nobody ever says anything about it, and nobody ever cares about them at all, because that's a real issue that is like very real. And I do actually want to write a book, not entirely about that, but about an indigenous woman cowgirl who befriends a white cowboy's wife, and they have a friendship that's very interesting. And I don't want to talk too much about that because that's going to be a while off, but like I want to go over like the way that people of colour, especially like in the past, because it's true now, but especially in the past when racism was like at its like social acceptance level, was what it was, and the law agreed with it and stuff, it was like really bad. Like you were expected, because I was talking about this with my mom, I think. We're talking about the prison system, and this is a different conversation, but basically I was talking because like the prison system obviously is very flawed, and especially in America where it's slave labor that the prisoners do, they don't get paid for it. You in prison in America, you do slave labor, and it's primarily people of color who are in prisons in America and in everywhere because of racism. It's institutional racism, like it's, you know, it's built into the systems that we live in. But it is something that I want to talk about because like I do really care about talking about those issues, but I specifically didn't want this book to be one of those books, because I think that it would have muddied my own way of writing it, and it would have probably then muddied the reading experience. So I've kind of focused it a little bit more in this draft on what I want, which is why it's easier to talk about now. I know that probably doesn't seem like the case, but like it's a lot about like this woman, and I feel like before I made it sound, and like it still is about this missing guy, but it's a lot more about this woman than it is about the missing guy. And I feel like I'm less afraid to say that because it sounds boring in theory. Like to my brain, I'm like, people aren't gonna care about that, but like she's a pop star who has a breakdown, and the breakdown is caused by a lot of things, but it's triggered by, and it's partially because of the relationship that she had with this small town where this guy went missing when she was there, and the situation that unfolded during that, and like how that's being brought up now, and how, you know, it's like she can't escape the past, and how she doesn't necessarily like the past for a lot of reasons. And there's this like, is she going to choose the hopeful path with this person who represents the future, a sort of chance to redo the past almost, or is she gonna get so bogged down in the past that she isn't able to move forwards? I think that there's a lot to say about topics like that, and that's like really where the aim is with me. I don't know, it's a lot of thought has gone into how I want to present this and how I want to focus on everything basically, and like specifically the things that I like and the things that I don't like in it in like the first draft, because I think that the vision that I had is very clear, but as I go along I'm picking out the new things that I've written without really thinking about them, and I'm thinking, okay, well this one is really good, I should develop this, or this one, it's not the right book, it's not the right place. And I think a lot of like the racial stuff, for example, it's not the right place, because she as a character would just not care enough about that for it to be the case that this book would be a good opportunity to bring that stuff up, whereas there are other books that absolutely will be. And I think that that is kind of the give and take. That's what I've been getting at, is that like this whole book, it's been about figuring out like the way of getting the reader, not necessarily to force them to think the same way that I think about the book, but to have like the right path to take that will allow them to make conclusions that are not insanely inaccurate. Like, you can think what you want, but I still, like, there is like objective truth, and the stuff that isn't objective truth, I want that to be a little bit more like, it's obvious that that's the stuff that's open for interpretation. I don't know, I think that kind of shepherding people along is like my aim with this story, and I think I'm doing a better job at figuring it out. I think in cutting out the racial stuff and making it be more about like the idea of fame and the people that we make famous and stuff like that, it's really windy. I think that I've managed to make it a lot better, a lot stronger than it was. I've made it a lot more like what actually happened, like how involved was she in this missing persons case. Like, you know, her narrative's gotten a little bit more unreliable, which is something that I wanted from the first draft, was for it to be really unreliable and for her to have like, you never really know what she's feeling or how she feels about this guy that went missing or why she feels that way or whatever. And it really is open, a lot of it, to interpretation. Like, you can decide whether or not she likes this guy or not. You can decide whether or not she's glad that he's not around or not. Like, there's so many different like things that in this draft I've really worked on, and yeah, it just is a case of me actually not being too depressed to write it, which I'm working on. I'm working on it. It'll be fine. But that is where I'm at. And I just thought I would do like a little update because I've been hunched over. But like, I don't really know how to talk about it right now, and I'm hoping that I'll be done with it soon. But I've just been in a really weird place, and I wanted to update, and I've got a lot of stuff going on in my life. You know, I'm gonna be in my dad's wedding soon enough. I say soon enough, it's like not that far away. We're in June. It's closer than it feels. So I really need to, you know, focus on other areas of my life right now. Like, I'm also preparing to go back to university in like September, October time. So there's like a lot going on, and I'm aware that I'm not really sharing that much about it, and that I've been a little bit more inconsistent lately than I have like ever been with this channel, but there are reasons for it and I'm working on them, and I just thought I would be transparent about it because, again, I think that it's really important. Like, if other people are struggling, and you know, if I just am like, well, I write like this many words every time I write, and I write like every day, that sounds like I'm like this super powered woman or something. Like, I'm literally like a superhero who's, you know, abilities to write, and like, that's just not true. And I think that a lot of people, they compare themselves to the people that they see online, and I'm not under the illusion that like 1 million people watch my videos. Obviously that would be a stupid thing to think, but I do think that it's important every now and then to just be like, to be honest, I am showing you the best side of myself. Not because I want to be deceptive, but because that is the side of myself that is coming out a little bit more often right now. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's just not the side that I see very often at all. So I'm being honest. And I hope to bring you news soon. I really do, about my book, because I really like it. But yeah, it needs some work still. And I'm gonna go right now. Not right now, like I'm gonna go right now. Hi. Yeah, I'm going to go and write now. But that's where I'm at. And I'm gonna go have my banana and my snack and my drink. Hello. How's my boy? Are you okay? Yeah. It'd be great if you could come over so I could actually touch you. Yes, hello. How's my baby? You're not allowed up here because you'll scratch up the wood, Mr. Claw Pants. Yeah. This is what I do like every day. Instead of like doing anything productive, is I just sit and I stroke my cat, who walks around my feet and moves out of my reach whilst purring and looking at me like it's cute. And then I have the other cat who wants to sit on my knee and he wants me to come to bed. So it's really difficult to not be depressed when you have cats who just want to sit with you and stuff, because they don't really aid in your productivity. But they also get me out of bed sometimes. He comes and says hi and won't stop shouting at me until I get up. And she comes and sits on me until I wake up. That's ticklish, mate. So it's alright. I want to be clear, like, I'm fine. I'm medicated, so I'm like, my depression is just like a slump. With every now and then the feeling of like, oh my god, I'm useless, which I then correct because I know that you're not supposed to think that way, even if you think it's true at the time. So I go, but I'm not useless, blah blah. So I'm fine. I'm just like, if my mood is usually like here, I'm just like here. I'm very flat. And I've been doing a lot of stuff, meeting a lot of people, trying to be active, clean the whole house, have my cat and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just tough, but I just being honest. I'm not being like, woe is me. It is what it is, you know. Oh, don't get scared. No, careful. No, because you can't do that, mate. You have to go down. Okay. We're out of bed. I'm coming now. But yeah, that's me. If you know anywhere to get a really cute vanity stool, like a dressing table stool, please tell me, because they're all really expensive or really ugly. And this one is literally just a wooden stool that creaks. And I love it. It's my old stool that I've had for years, but like, I need to get another one that's more comfortable because it does hair and I don't fit on it properly. So yeah, thank you for watching. I don't know exactly when the next video. I'll try and release one in like a week after this one, rather than it be, you know, like super long. But I don't know. I'm not bad. I really want to make that clear. Like, I'm not doing badly. I'm just not doing well. Like, there is a difference and I know the difference, and I'm really grateful that this is my low, because it didn't used to be my low. But I am a little disappointed in myself, and I'm trying not to be, because I know that it's not entirely my fault. But I also am gonna go kick myself into gear, and we're gonna go have a cuddle in my room, yeah? I can't reach you, you're just a little too far away. But yeah, and if you have any questions, like, by the way, about anything, if you want to know what makeup I'm wearing, let me know, I'll tell you. I'm not a gatekeeper, although a lot of it is how you can't buy a lot of it because they don't make it anymore, because like a lot of it is old, but it's fine, you know, it's fine. But like, yeah, anything like that, anything about like my books, if you want to know about Formation Lab, I don't know if I made a video. I think I did. I am still planning on trying to get an agent for this book and then seeing what they say about Formation Lab. But if you have any questions about, like, you know, if I was to self-publish it, where would it be available, stuff like that, I am happy to answer that, because that is still something that I'm thinking of doing if I get the money. Trust. I actually might have news about that in a few months. Oh, can you see the cat? I'm assuming that you can see the cat. Hey babe. The bed's a mess, by the way. This is the guest room. Hi. So it's just a bit messy. Yeah. Oh. Because my mum was supposed to be staying over, and then she didn't, because she was a naughty girl, and she didn't stay over, even though she had a procedure that she was supposed to stay over afterwards with somebody. She was fine, but like, no baby, love you. But yeah, I was supposed to change the bedding for her because I'd had another guest, and I didn't see the point in changing the sheets and letting them go stale, so I left them, and I was going to change them, but then I didn't do that. So there's like sheet protectors and new pillows and stuff that my mum gave me because she had them, and the sheet protectors and stuff have been washed, but I've not put them on because I literally can't be bothered, and it was boiling, and I was like, there was no way I'm changing like a double bed with like a heavy duvet and set. Like, I'm not doing that. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, that summarizes everything that I've been feeling right now. It's just overwhelmed, a little bit tired, a little bit nonplussed, and focusing on the wrong things. So I'm gonna go do some writing, do a bit of reading, try and have a good nice dinner, because the last time I cooked dinner it didn't go well and I was like really depressed over it. And so I've had takeaways 2 nights in a row, but I'm gonna go do that. And oh my god, having cats, I swear to god, you just, but it's fine, I'm gonna go. But yeah, ask me any questions, like I'm happy to talk. I'm very socially deprived because I am too anxious, and like my physical condition is still, it's not, you know, as bad as it was, and I can go and do stuff, but it's not very often that I'm able to go and do stuff in the way of like talking for hours and hours with people, which I love doing. I'm a yapper. So feel free, honestly, any questions about anything at all. Any questions about like, if you want advice with like depression, I've had depression since I was like 11 years old. I think it was actually closer to 12, but like I've been depressed a long time. So I know quite a lot. Obviously it's not one size fits all, but yeah. Oh, my back. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just try and get on with my day, and I'll maybe, I think the next video I make may end up being, it may or may not end up being a video where I talk about the book and how it's going, thoughts on like the second draft in terms of like my plans for the future with it, and like a new timeline or something, because hopefully by then I'll know how long it's going to take me to get to the second half. But yeah, I'll make a video. I might do a library haul video talking about the books I got, ones I've read, what I liked, what I didn't, blah blah blah. But we'll see, and we'll get through it, and I hope you have a good week. Bye.